Most agency owners chase growth, more clients, more employees, more revenue, because it looks like success. But Michael Buzz Buzinski was an agency owner that had 2.4 million, and he just realized he had a cool job with razor-thin margins and no real freedom.
So with that, we built out a multi-million-dollar creative agency, had a 13,000 square foot facility, a couple dozen employees, had a view of the mountains and all the other stuff, and felt like I made it, but I still owned a job. It wasn't as profitable as it should have been, and I burnt myself out.
In this conversation, we're going to unpack the vanity metric trap and the hidden anchors that keep founders stuck, and what it actually takes to build a founder-free revenue engine.
You can't hire anybody to replace you as the salesperson until you have a marketing operating system that feeds enough leads for a BDR, a business development person, to actually be busy.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of From Grind to Gold. We're going to talk a little bit today, Michael, about getting out of the grind, founder freedom. You and I were talking a little bit earlier about you get to this place where you look around, or at least I did, and go, well, now what? When you've actually made it out of the day-to-day of your agency. But I really want to hear about your story and how did you get into the agency game?
My first office job was with Bastium Tickets on the call center sales floor. I went through a couple different companies by the time I was in my early 20s. And kind of got burnt out by the corporate boo-ha. It only took me about 5 years to be like, oh, this all sucks. So I went into the Air Force and try to get a college education because it seemed that I needed to do that. And I spent 10 years doing that, not getting a college degree. So then I got out. I was unhireable. I didn't have a degree. I had spent 15 years as a part-time professional musician. So I decided to open up a recording studio. I quickly realized that surviving off of starving musicians is a horrible business plan. So I expanded that into media production, and we became we were full spectrum media production studio. So we had audio, video, graphics, web, you name it, we were doing it. And then that grew into a creative agency because my marketing strategies were being given away for free. And I realized that people were taking my strategies and then going to the folks next door and getting stuff done. They might find somebody cheaper or somebody poaches, you know how it goes. It's a dog eat dog world out there with the marketing stuff, right? So with that, we added those in and built out a multi-million-dollar creative agency, had a 13,000 square foot facility, a couple dozen employees, a whole 9 yards, a little corner desk in downtown Anchorage, Alaska, had the view of the mountains and all the other stuff, and felt like I made it.
Yeah.
But I still owned a job. It wasn't as profitable as it should have been because creative agencies are notoriously not profitable because we try to do too many things and we never say no to anything. And I burnt myself out.
Did you like, looking back, you say okay, I still owned a job. At that time, did you think, oh, this is just a job? Or how did you come to the realization or when did you come to the realization that, oh man, I just created a really good job for myself and I've just grinded myself into nothing?
When I looked at the profitability of the company, we were on razor thin profit margins, right? Everything was all about growth at the time because I started my company in 2005, where growth at all costs was the norm. Like the dot-com era and all the tech that was coming out, everybody was told, you grow at all costs. And what they didn't say was, if you're VC backed, you grow at all costs. And so the SMB space, for us folks who, are hard chargers, type A personalities, you were like, yeah, let's do this. And so your metrics of success were top line revenue, employee count, and how big is your office? Where is it located, right? Those are like your top three, and they're all vanity metrics. They have absolutely no bearing on the profitability of. And so profitability really didn't become a popular thing that people talked about until probably the 2000 teens, early 2000 teens.
Yeah.
And I started looking at that. I started looking at the longevity of that, and I started looking at how little time I had to go on like a vacation or any of that stuff because it was still founder led. Even though I had teams around me, I hadn't built the systems that allowed me to just not be there.
And what was your top line revenue at
Oh,
that time?
top line revenue is like 2.4 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just about where most companies break, most service business breaks, right around there.
Yeah.
Especially in the B2B space is between 2 and 3, 2 and 4 sometimes. They'll get up to 4 million. That's when things start falling apart because it
Mhm.
just gets so big. You haven't if you grow as you grow fast, you're just triaging everything, right? When you grow methodically, you're creating systems as you go.
Yeah.
And that's where most of us are like, well, it's all up in here and you're going so fast. It's like, well, as long as I'm around, I can get those in. Now, we had a manual that was about this thick, like 3 inches thick. Nobody looked at it though. And it processes change so fast because we would never say no to anything. "Oh, can you do this?" "Yeah, sure, we'll figure it out." I found myself in Italy one time shooting a full-length documentary, and I got a call right when we were landing and we were getting into the hotel our first hotel, I got a call, says, "Power for half of the building went out." We did not have an SOP to go, "Oh, call the electric company." Well, what happened is there was a bill. We had 2 we it was really weird. We had 2, meters to the building because it was so long, and it used to have 2 addresses. But anyway, long story short, they just didn't pay a bill. So they just needed to pay the bill the whole 8 hours. But they needed to call me halfway around the world to go call them and give them a debit card over the phone, get the damn thing on. And so now everybody thinks we're going out of business because a one little bill on 1 meter was going there. So I was the glue that was keeping everybody there. So when I'm not there, they're going, "What's going on?" But if I'm there, I go, "Oh yeah, this is a small problem." Right?
Right.
So
Right.
there was a house of cards that was built because it was built so fast, right? And so when you're talking about like 3 to 5% margins, one
Yeah.
bad quarter will bury you.
Yeah.
Bury you, and we had some big clients that were spending like $300,000 a year. I mean, they were big chunks of change. They were coming out of that. So all of that to be said, I just decided, I could have like grinded it out for about another 3 to 5 years to really make it profitable and like really try to figure that out. But then I'm like, I don't want to wait 3 or 5 years. I just spent 13 years. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well, I think the sad thing is I think most people give up. Most people go, "I gotta get rid of this or do something else." Or if they don't give up and they try to sell it, it they're
You
unrated.
can't sell it if you were
No one's
yeah.
gonna buy it, or if they do buy it, a smart buyer is gonna come in and just cut you off at the knees, maybe even the waist.
Well, no,
Uh,
they're gonna pay you what it's worth,
yeah,
and if it doesn't run without you, it's not worth it. I have a saying that says, a useful founder owns a useless company."
yeah,
It's
yeah, we
useless to buyers, it's useless to your employees. They have to review if they are relying on you to get what they need to get done, they can't grow as individuals. If they're not given station to make the decisions and they're not given the room to fail. See, this is a lot of founders don't want people to fail around them because they don't like failing. But it's like one thing I hate the worst is losing. But I'm like, you don't lose and you don't fail if you learn. And if you can teach, the only way that people truly learn is through failure.
oh, wow, yeah, gotta give them the space to fall down.
But that's where
Yeah,
profitability comes in, right? You have to be okay with losing money to gain that expertise and experience, right?
I was just at an event this weekend. I go to multiple events for agency. This one's happened to be, Jason Swank down in Agency Mastery, and it's not a plug, although it's a great place, but there's others out there too that I point people to that agency owners are a good fit at. But the thing that we all they had breakouts and they were talking. I went to a breakout of they were talking about M&A, and
Mhm.
we somehow we got on the topic of leadership, next level leadership teams, right?
Mm.
Like, how
Mhm.
do you grow if you're at, let's say, not 2.4, but you're at 1,700,000, 1,500,000, and you really
Mhm.
need a next level leadership team so the owner's not doing everything. Well, how do you afford those next level leaders? And it kind of boils down to what you're saying. Well, if you've built a business, an agency that has profit at that point, that's where you need to reinvest. And guess what? You're going to take fewer profits, but the leap is just like when you started your agency and you went, I have nothing. You took a leap. Well, one of the next leaps is, hey, look, our profits might be lower this quarter, next quarter, but if we get the right people in here, they should really be pulling on the reins and pulling for you so you don't have to. But that takes an investment. And what we started talking about was if you've done it well and you have profits that are 22, 25, 27, 30, you might get used to that, right?
Mhm.
And now it's kind of like, do we really want this next level, or do we just kind of want to stay where we are? But that
Well,
investment, that leap some people were sharing like, this is a little scary, you know. I like dividends.
right, right. Well, this is the thing though. I'm a big fan of Mike Michalowicz and his book, um, Profit First. And if
Yes.
you follow that, you can actually be putting asi if you're growing that way and you haven't been spending that money on there and you properly, plan out your finances, you should have money for the runway of getting that next person without hitting your profit, because 'cause you're always growing past your capacity in revenue before you go, "Oh crap, to continue to do that, we're gonna need another person." And if we had the workforce today, they just 7, 8 years ago, uh, fractionals are the way we can not do a big step forward instead of having to take a leap forward. Because employees are extremely expensive,
Yeah.
right? Compared to a fractional leader can come in and say, "Hey, come in here and tell me what." One of my problems was is I promoted from within and I tried to skill people up. But
Hmm.
I was driving so hard that sometimes I was just assuming, wrongfully so, that they would figure stuff out and take care of stuff. And
Yeah.
that's not how employees work. Entrepreneurs and employees are 2 different beasts, right? And I've come to find out there is another beast, is called the intrapreneur. If you find one of them, they're a unicorn, and you better hold on to them as long as you possibly can, because those people will act like they own it, but they don't have the, lack of a better term, cojones to do it on their own. So
Right.
they'll do anything that an entrepreneur will do as far as dedication and innovation and free thinking and all that other stuff, but they are not gonna be putting their livelihood on the line to do it on their own. They'd rather have somebody else take that risk, and then they'll pay it forward by doing a really good job. But if you have fractional, is a really good way of, like, stepping in, make an assessment of the people that you have, and go, "You know what? Some of these people are not gonna be with us as we grow because they're just not going to skill up fast enough, or they
Yeah.
have the inability, they're at the ceiling, and they're not interested in skilling up."
Hey, thank you for watching today's video. Wanted to take a little break here and ask you something. If you are a marketing agency owner and you're feeling successful about what you're doing in your agency, you're making money, things are going well, but you feel a little bit trapped and you're kind of searching for that next thing, that next big thing to solve, I just encourage you to stop for a second And before you decide what to do next, learn your agency owner archetype. It's free. It teaches you about your personality and your identity and why your identity keeps you in a loop of making the same move over and over again, and makes it so that you and your agency are kind of stuck in the same place. Anyway, it's a great report. It only takes a few minutes to fill out. Get your agency owner archetype today, and thanks for watching. So this may be the good time to ask you, because you've got a book coming out, or it's already
Mhm.
out? No, it's
Well,
it's already
we've got kind of like a pre-launch of the book is an ebook format. Yes, the Build the
right.
Founder Free Revenue Engine.
Yes. Tell me about that, because I've heard that revenue cures all. So when you say revenue engine, I lean it forward.
So yes, revenue or sales cures a lot of things, but it can also propel bad habits faster. Just like AI takes a bad strategy and just makes the bad strategy
Yeah.
proliferate proliferate faster,
Like
I
my
would say.
father used to say, you could dig a really good ditch in the wrong direction.
That's right. So, I wrote my first book was called The Rule of 26, and my thing is this, I'm obsessed with revenue. Profitability really is what the word I'm looking for, right? Like, revenue for revenue's sake is crap. Revenue for profit's sake is the ticket. And I break it down into that as entrepreneurs, we're looking for 3 things. 1, financial independence. We can print money. Second, once you have that, you should be, if you're profitable enough, you can start looking for entrepreneurial freedom, working on or above your business, not in your business, not owning a job, right? So now you have the freedom. What do you do with that freedom? We usually look for impact. And that's the third piece we're looking for. We're looking for impact. Now that could be with your family, could be with your local community, it could be like Elon Musk and changing the world, even going beyond this world and impacting the universe. Whatever that impact is, big or small, that's the end game. If you build a business that has no and you haven't made any impact in 20 years, you're going to leave entrepreneurship very empty.
Not fulfilled.
Yes.
That may be a better impact, maybe a better word than what I use, which is purpose. You find your purpose. It could be a cause,
Mhm.
the culture you build at
Mhm.
whatever you're working within,
Mhm.
whether that's an agency or an organization, and it could be kind of the competence for, um, like, being the best in the world at something, like
Yeah.
the impact a samurai sword maker has.
Yeah.
Like, that person has some serious competence, and it's
Right.
been passed down for generations,
Yeah. And
that's what
being the mentor and leveraging your expertise into your industry is a level of impact, right? For me, I always considered my company the anti-agency agency. I hated the agency model, even though that's what I didn't know any other way to run an agency, but we decided that, hey, listen, we're going to try to look at this from the client's point of view and not ours, right? We're not looking at like, oh, well, you need this, so you need this, our product versus, hey, what does it look like if we tell them no? You don't need us, you need them, or you don't need what we have, you need to go buy this. And it's what I call fiduciary marketing.
Ha, nice. Wow, that's powerful. That's yeah, 'cause you are talking about their livelihood,
Yeah,
revenue
marketing
streams.
is an investment, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. Fiduciary marketing. I love that.
So that's what we have now. Like before it was anti-agency agency, right? And then until we became an agency and it was like, "Oh crap," that it just you just end up that way. It's like, "Okay." And that's when I closed the doors. I sat in the foyer 2 years into having this building. We'd gone through 3 buildings in 13 years. 4 buildings. Good lord. We just kept growing, and so then I went from, like, 5,500 square feet to 13,000 square feet. And we were just like, okay, I'm tired of moving this thing around. Dot, dot, dot. So with all that said, um, I said, I have to reimagine how I do business. So I closed the doors on a $2.4 million agency and said, I'm doing it different. Y'all can work for me, just can't work from this building. I'm going virtual before virtual was a thing. But that was the 180 degrees because I looked at it. I said, what is the anchor that is keeping me? And when I met my wife, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, when we met, I said, hey, listen, there's a couple of things you're going to need to know. She was from Texas. She had just moved up. I can't leave. I have a business here. So if you're not looking to stay in Alaska for any like the time, I'm probably not the guy to date
Wow.
if you're looking for a long-term relationship, right? So I'm sitting in the foyer, I'm like, what is it that is holding me back from doing the things I really want to do in life? Like travel, love traveling, right? In the last 7 years, I've been to 23 countries,
Wow.
23 countries in 7 years after closing the doors on the anchor, which was the building. So I'm like, okay, so if the building is the thing that I hate the most out of this thing, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that perturbs me, right? Like babysitting adults was a big thing. I was like, why do I feel like I'm babysitting grown people, right? But the building was the biggest weight. And so I was like, okay, what does it look like if we didn't have the building? And I just structured the company around that. And I went from 13,000 square feet down to 1,300 square feet. Had everybody else working because I didn't have I had a little condo at the time. Because remember, I wasn't of that profitable. So I was bringing in a lot of money, just wasn't keeping much of it, right? And so I needed to get a little office. That office then went down to 500 square feet. And then when we moved into the lower 48, because I told my wife now, hey, I don't have the weight. We can go anywhere you want. Let's follow your career. And we've moved twice since then, right? Because of that. But I just my setup goes anywhere I want. I have built so many damn studios in my career. There's there. But that was the thing is like if you keep doing the same thing over and over expecting different results, you're going to drive yourself insane. And so I just said, okay, we're going to completely turn 180 degrees and redo it. It took me a year to whittle 300 clients down to about 80 that we held
Mhm.
on to because we stopped doing social media management. We stopped doing the BS, the the stuff that was basically vanity marketing. And that's what I got my first book was Rule 26. It was like, hey, listen, as a founder, you actually only have 3 KPIs to look at. And the new book, Build a Founder Free Revenue Engine, expands that by one more to create what we call your flywheel velocity. So basically showing how much value, client lifetime value, your
Does it
company's creating every day and comparing that to what you're spending every day to create that lifetime value. Because everybody's worried about revenue. But if you are a good agency or a strategy firm or any consultancy that has recurring revenue, a dollar today is not the end of that dollar.
right? Right. Here.
If you've signed a contract for 12 months and say it's 72,000 or 120,000, okay, so that means you have about $6,000 to $10,000 today. That's revenue. But that is only a piece of 70 to $120,000.
Right.
So you created a lot more value than you do because people look at their cost per acquisition, right? Their CAC,
Yeah.
right? And it's like you're looking at it at maybe a month to 3 months when if you look at your actual average client lifetime value, that's what we should be looking at. And when founders figure that out, they start investing in their marketing properly and they start to grow profitably.
So that makes an assumption though that you measure excuse me, you measure lifetime value. That's one assumption. The other assumption is that you do a good job of keeping those clients so that lifetime value is high. But you're right, when you recognize, oh, and we did this a little while ago, we said, oh, our lifetime value is now this isn't a huge agency, but our lifetime value, every time we land a client, our lifetime value is 109,000. So 109,000, and you go, on average, it's a weird number, but some to go longer, some go shorter. It's 109,000. So it's, oh, what it did make us do exactly what you're talking about and go, oh, if that is the case, then we don't mind paying this for these clients when we land them. And oh, by the way, it's not a spray and pray kind of thing. We're going after the clients we know give us that lifetime value. We
100%.
know that we can keep.
And you have a
Yeah.
progression. Like, people forget to create a client life cycle. People, agencies love to think that they're gonna keep their clients for 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
And I did some research on it. The average agency, digital marketing agencies have an average of 6 months retention. Ours, well, we've been 3 different versions of a marketing firm, okay? And out of all of that we've seen, we have an average of 2.75 years. Most will tell you, most research companies will tell you that if you keep a client over 2 years, it's not when if, it's when you will lose that client, because they will just change for change's sake.
Well, yeah, you get into the rut of, yeah, we've been doing a great job. We like you. No, do you have something else? Now, I'd always thought that's the time when you introduce a new service to that client. Like, for example, but
Again?
introducing new services is a whole another ball of wax. I want to get back to the revenue engine part of your book
Okay. Mhm.
because what I've always thought is that when when you need a new level of competency in your agency,
Mhm.
a new level of sales, a new level, the owner could go out and do it and likely does it to start. But when you
Mhm.
get to a certain place, you want to say, we need to hire somebody that's better at this than I am.
Mhm.
So when I hear revenue engine, I hear rev ops, I hear lead
Mhm.
gen, I hear sales closer, like that whole world. It
Client
sounds
success, yeah,
a
there's
lot,
three arcs to your revenue engine. There's marketing, sales, and client success.
right?
Those are your 3 arcs.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 stages. I break it into what I call the honeycomb flywheel, where there's 2 stages per arc. So the marketing is responsible for attracting and activating opportunities. Sales is, responsible for, getting the approval to move forward and anchoring the client. And the client success is responsible for advancing your relationship and creating advocacy, which then feeds back into attract. And so when they're all interconnected into a gear. And so when you have all 3 working together and feeding off each other, you create a flywheel effect where it starts compounding the output because it starts spinning faster and faster, which is uh, the fourth number that I added, the fourth KPI that I added to the revenue engine, um, compared to the rule of 26, which is cycle time. How long does it take for you to take an opportunity, qualified opportunity, quality opportunity, to the moment you know that is going to reach your average client lifetime value? If you can, this is the one thing, time as a tool, you can actually compress that. Okay. You increase your opportunities by, say, 25%, you will most likely increase your sales by 25%. But when you decrease the time from by 25%, it comes to like 40% more revenue. 'Cause you're
Interesting.
realizing the client lifetime value faster. Your velocity is increasing.
Right.
So
Right.
you're exponentially expanding your future value without having to do anything else today. You're compounding next year's money today.
So what would you say this is powerful stuff. What would you say to a company that has a CRM, they've got a pipeline, they've got some automation in that pipeline, when you go from stage to stage,
Mhm.
but the owner's still the main salesperson.
Yeah,
The owner,
read my book.
yeah, yeah, go back. Um, the owner's still the main salesperson,
Right,
and they don't yet have, well, depend on what you call them, a SDR, sales development rep, or they don't have
right,
someone who's out there
right,
hunting.
right.
It's mostly farming, and now you're really looking to get to a place where you bring in a leader, um, that is gonna take that system that's working to some extent, but it's not a what you would call an engine, or maybe it's an engine running on one cylinder.
Well, this is the
Do you
thing.
Is it a leadership thing? Is it a, like, how do you? Because we're talking about no founder in the sales process, so where do you
Right.
start at? Where would
You
you?
gotta well, you have to create steps, right? You can't just leap into it. Most people try to just hire somebody, say, "Hey, I had a client that just did this recently." Basically hired a marketing director that he expects to be also an SDR and BDR and all the other things on the sales side as well. And he wants everything to work yesterday, right? So this is a client that we're basically firing because it's like, no, you don't get it, right? And this is the thing. You can't hire anybody to replace you as the salesperson until you have a marketing operating system that feeds enough leads for a BDR, a business development person, to actually be busy. Because if you so you have to load your marketing has to be working in order it's to where it's like you're at capacity. It's like, I can't take more calls. That's when you replace yourself. Not, I hate doing sales, but I only have 2 or 3 sales calls a week anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, what is a business development person gonna do? They're going to sit if you're making them hunt or farm, that means that they're out of the office most of the time, and it's gonna take them anywhere between 6 and 12 months before they start paying for themselves, if they do. But if you have a marketing operating system that's pushing more opportunities than you can handle, what would it look like if you just hired a fractional business development representative that came in and started working with those leads instead of you, and now you become the sales manager until they can then grow into a full-time BDR. Now you're a sales manager, you're still founder led, right? Because you're leading that. But until you have a system that's feeding enough for somebody to have something to lead, you don't need a leader.
Yeah.
And but most people, most founder in agencies we're horrible at this, don't have a good lead generation system. And the
Yeah.
system is what I'm talking about. They might have great, like, lead generation, but they have nothing that's converting them into active conversations. And so there's not enough qualified sales calls to then warrant spending any money on somebody else taking those calls for you. And then the second thing that they do really badly is that they don't productize their service so that somebody else can actually sell the service.
Great.
Until you productize your service, so that means that you and when I say that, some people don't know what that means. So that means that, like, a lot of people, especially agencies, have bespoke scope of works for every person because we don't just sell you the templated blah blah blah, right? And
Yeah.
then they think they're being righteous in creating this scope of work that is custom to your particular situation, blah 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 blah. All you're saying is that you haven't figured out a system to identify the problem your ideal client profile has, to the point where you can say, before we can do anything else, we need to do this. And then from there, the experience builds its own SOP along the way. Until you have a single point of entry that somebody else can sell, they're always gonna come back to you going, "So boss, how do I package this? Hey boss, how much do I charge for this? Hey boss, what services do we have that solves this problem?"
So you ran a creative agency. Creatives can get, for lack of a better term, creative. So how did you go from, because there's another side to this, which is where a package, a programmatic package, like when you order this package, you get this, you get this, you get this. If you want to upgrade that package, is that what you're talking about?
No. So, no, unfortunately, no. That's not what I'm talking about. So that is the legacy agency cus uh, productized services.
Yeah.
I have an acronym, it's called Focus, and it stands for Fix One Clearly Urgent Struggle for One Clearly Unique Stakeholder. Stop selling all your services out of the gate. Sell the one solution that will give them clarity, stability, or trajectory. I have a revenue engine diagnostic. Am I the first person to ever sell a diagnostic to get things started? No, but that's our single point of entry. So we go in there and do a SWOT analysis, we do competitive landscape analysis, and then we create clarity. The last piece of the clarity there and trajectory is a 90-day roadmap. Guess what that 90-day roadmap is?
Yeah.
The scope
I
of
do.
work for the next 90 days.
So that's, some people call that a foot in the door offer.
That's
Um,
fine. You can call it that.
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing, right? It's
Yes,
don't get
I call
away
it
from.
single point of entry because I look at it. You remember those shoebox cameras?
Yeah.
Okay. And you had a little pinhole on one side and you had the photo paper on the inside, right? So all
Yeah.
the light came into that little pinhole there. Okay. And then once the light got in there, it then spread out and covered the photo paper and gave the full picture,
Right.
right? So foot in the door to me means you're slipping in. I'm
Oh, right.
saying get yourself through one point so you can control the light within the system. Everybody's trying to sell the entire picture
Yeah.
versus just the one thing.
Right.
Okay. So for if you go to my website, we say building founder free revenue engines by fixing random acts of marketing. Okay. So we are identify their problem. They have random acts of marketing. If they didn't, then they wouldn't be at my website. And the dream, the outcome, future pacing, right? Projecting founder free. Ooh, what's founder free? Ooh, I like founder free. That sounds good. If I'm a founder, right?
Yeah, right. I like that one.
I like
Us?
that. Let's do that. What does that look like? And then and then I agitate the problem. And then I
Yeah.
say, okay, you need a founder free revenue engine. We build those. But the first step to building it is to understand where we're at today because we don't know what we don't know. And if you don't start with strategy, you're going to be buried in tactics.
Now, do you guys do that for any type of business that has
Oh,
a
no. Remember,
uh,
one unique stakeholder, 7 and 8 figure founder-led B2B founder-led B2B firms. They're in the 7 and 8 figures. I said that backwards, but that's what it is specifically. Okay. Now,
perfect?
are we thinking about maybe going down market a little bit to expand our opportunities? Possibly, but we have to be very careful with that, right? We have to still have to have the single point of entry so that we don't dilute our message and our offer. So that way, when we have the salespeople approaching it, we don't have to retrain the sales staff
But 7, 8 figures is the founder led. 7, 8 figures founder led is the qualifier,
and B2B.
and B2B.
So
B2B.
I'm being as unique as we possibly can with what we do because the revenue engine, like you said, has the RevOps piece on there, but also the marketing operating system in there and a client success management system. So they have to be big enough to have all three to begin with or need all three. Now, we were working with a $9.5 million CPA firm. There was a husband and wife. The husband was the lead sales and the marketing, and the CPAs were the account managers. The wife was the COO slash client success manager. The
Yeah.
owner was shooting from the hips and selling whatever he wanted to. And she had to clean up all the messes when they're trying to figure out, well, what are we supposed to do for them? Oh, and why does our bill keep going up? Because they worked with CPGs, which is consumer-based, consumer product goods, right? So
Yeah.
when you get more inventory, accounting goes up. But founder-led sales wasn't communicating that in the sale. And so now you have all these problems. And so when we went to do market research, the best market research are your current clients. Oh, you can't bug our clients. It told me everything I needed to know about their client success. There was none. It was all a house of cards because they
Yeah.
couldn't even talk to their best clients about their services. We're not going to bug our clients.
Yeah.
They didn't make advocates. That's the last stage is advocacy, right? And they were having a hard time advancing because the sales and probably even marketing was too vague in what they were buying, right? All of this in an age is the same problem an agency has.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the business. I get it, but at some point you're going to have to systemize what you're selling so that you can give it to somebody because they don't have your brain. You have
Yeah.
to make it to where a 12-year-old can sell your stuff.
Right. Right. Um, wow, I love the way you think, man. I absolutely love the way you think. The methodology that you have simplifies it down, and it's a lot of businesses out there don't have that discipline to build something like this. So, completely valuable. So, the question is, where would they go to find your book if it's not out yet? Or where would they go to get
They
a
can get a free PDF copy right now at founderfree.com.
simple enough.
I know a
Founder.
marketing guy. He helped me out.
That's great. Hey, Michael, I really appreciate you taking time with me today, and a lot. I always learn something new when we talk to different people, but I think I learned extra today.
I appreciate that. I'm glad to be of service.